Wealthy son throws out his sick father's caregiver, but she reveals a shocking truth. Madison's badge snapped when it was yanked from her neck, and the plastic hit the floor. Noah, the house manager, raised his arm and pointed to the armchair where his father, Grant, sat motionless, eyes lost. "You're fired for incompetence. Get out of my house now," Noah shouted, his face hard and his chest puffed with anger. "I don't understand. What happened? What did I do wrong with Mr. Grant?" Madison asked, voice tight as she tried to steady her breathing. "I don't owe you any explanation. Grab your things and disappear," Noah replied coldly, refusing to meet her eyes. "I'll take care of everything from now on," Zoe, Noah's girlfriend, whispered with a smile that cut like a blade. The door closed like a sentence, and the slam echoed down the hallway. Hours later, Madison's phone buzzed with a notification that hollowed out her stomach. Immediate suspension of her right to work as a caregiver while a malpractice case was reviewed. The message also made it clear the process would take months, and until then she'd be barred from working, unpaid, with her name stained. "This has to be a setup. My reports are correct, signed by different physicians. I followed every protocol. So why accuse me now? It has to be a way to keep me away from Mr. Grant," Madison said under her breath, leaning on the table, hands cold, and her brow resting against her fist. The next day, Madison returned to the mansion to collect her belongings and took a deep breath when she saw the gatehouse. Kevin, the security guard Grant had introduced months earlier as a trusted man, hurried out and looked around before approaching. "I need to talk to you without anyone seeing us," Kevin said anxiously, glancing over his shoulder. "What happened, Kevin? Tell me now," Madison urged, gripping her bag strap. "Late at night, Zoe came through the gate with a bag and said they were urgent medical orders. She told me not to log her visit," Kevin said, nervous, lowering his voice. "Are you sure about the time? Did you write it down anywhere?" Madison asked, tense, trying to fit the pieces together. "I didn't write it down because she demanded it. But I remember it was between 1 and 2. I've never seen that before, and I didn't like the way she talked," Kevin answered uneasily, scratching his neck. "Thank you for telling me. This is important. Please don't talk to anyone, not even her," Madison said firmly, breathing short. "I just want Grant to be okay. If I notice anything strange again, I'll let you know," Kevin said with visible loyalty, straightening up. Madison mentally checked the schedules on her phone and felt ice climb her spine when she saw there was no extra medication planned that night, no adjustment, nothing to justify a bag at that hour. "This confirms something is getting into that room without a prescription," Madison said to herself, grinding her teeth. The picture was taking shape, but it wasn't proof yet. Madison took a deep breath and decided to change strategy. She would wait for Noah at the mansion's gate at the end of the day. Time seemed to crawl until his car approached. Before Noah even got out, the passenger door opened and Zoe stepped out first, her heels striking the ground like a declaration of war. "Look who showed up to make a scene," Zoe said, dripping venom, her provocative smile cutting deeper than the insult. Madison inhaled, feeling the blood rush to her face, but she refused to retaliate. She clenched her fists and let the question fly, steady and precise. "Then answer me, Zoe. Why did you insist on coming into the house, specifically on the nights I wasn't on duty? And why didn't you ever make it clear to me, back when I was still caring for Grant, that these visits were happening?" Madison asked, keeping her eyes on Zoe and then on Noah. Noah, who had remained in the car, took a breath, pushed the door open slowly, and stepped out stiffly, avoiding Madison's gaze. "That's none of your business. Stay out of it," Noah said, hesitant, eyes down, voice heavy with discomfort. "Some things can't leak out, so don't ask questions you won't like the answers to," Zoe whispered, threatening, leaning her body into Noah like a wall. Madison saw the guilt on Noah's face like a beacon in fog and realized he was being used, pushed by fear of something that could explode at any moment. Swallowing her anger, Madison stepped back in silence. At home, Madison paced until she decided she needed to speak with Noah without Zoe's shadow. She tore a slip of paper, wrote firmly, "I need to talk to you alone. It's about your father," folded it and tucked it away. The next morning, she returned to the mansion, and spotting Kevin at the gate, she called him over discreetly and handed him the note, asking him to get it to Noah only when he was alone. Kevin nodded silently and put the paper away carefully. Late in the afternoon, Noah came to Madison's house. His face was tense, his shoulders locked. "What does Zoe have on you that makes you follow orders that hurt Grant?" Madison asked, straight to the point. "I can't. It's not something I can explain," Noah said hoarsely, staring at the floor like he was searching for a way out that didn't exist. "I'm not here to expose you. I just want to protect your father," Madison said sincerely, opening her hands to show she brought nothing but the truth. Noah exhaled deeply, ran a hand down his face like he was trying to rip off a mask he'd worn for far too long, and only then let the words escape. "I can't live under this blackmail anymore," Noah confessed, voice faltering, as if each word were a brick dropping from his chest. "Everything the family owns is in my father's name. I only manage it. Nothing changes hands while he's alive," Noah said with shame, breathing heavy. "Zoe found out about a daughter I kept hidden from everyone, the daughter I never had the courage to acknowledge, and she used that against me. She said she'd stay by my side, pretend to be my girlfriend, and together we'd plan my father's death to make it look natural, then take a cut of what was left," Noah said in pain, the words scraping his throat. "And because I was never close to my father, he always prioritized the company over the family. I was more afraid of losing my position and my name than of losing him," Noah admitted, holding back tears as he shut his eyes for a second. "There's still time to choose right. If you want to protect Grant, I'll stand with you and we'll change this now," Madison said with calm firmness, resisting the urge to judge him. Noah lowered his eyes, took a breath, and let the silence weigh on them. "Do you really think it's possible to change all of this? After everything I've already done? After keeping quiet?" Noah asked, his voice broken, doubt and fear fighting across his face. "It is possible, if you stop obeying out of fear." "I believe we can start right now," Madison replied with conviction, keeping her gaze on him. "If there's a chance to get out of this hell, then I'll try. I'll fight by your side," Noah said at last, emotional, straightening up like someone finally deciding to breathe. "They set clear rules, ones Zoe couldn't get around. Nothing goes into the room without a label and a clear prescription. Deal?" Madison said, counting on her fingers. "Any pill changes happen with me present. Nobody touches anything without me seeing it," Noah said firmly, slapping his open hand into his opposite palm. "I need 15 minutes a day with Mr. Grant to check basic signs. It's not much, but it's enough to spot changes," Madison said with steady confidence. Noah nodded in silence, and in that moment it was clear the two of them had stopped being adversaries. An alliance was sealed. On the first afternoon under the new rules, Zoe walked into Grant's room without warning. As she pushed the door open, she found Madison sitting by the armchair, measuring the older man's breathing and jotting quick notes in a notebook. Zoe's eyes narrowed instantly. "What are you doing here? You don't work in this house anymore," Zoe said coldly, folding her arms. Madison lifted her gaze, ready to defend herself, but before she could speak, Noah appeared in the doorway. "I authorized her to come. It was my decision," Noah said firmly, standing tall. Zoe turned her head slowly, eyes flicking between them. The smile she tried to hold collapsed into a hard line of contained rage. She said nothing more, just narrowed her eyes, pocketed her silence like a knife, and stalked out with stiff steps. That quick exchange was enough. Zoe understood something had changed, and that Noah and Madison were on the same side. A few days later, Zoe returned to Grant's room with a light infusion in an elegant bottle, making one last attempt to regain control behind a mask of helpfulness. "What's the source of that infusion? Show me the bottle and leave it next to the prescription," Madison asked with courteous firmness, hand outstretched. "It's just a calming tea. No need for all this drama," Zoe said, impatient, trying to move toward the tray. "Nothing gets served without clear identification." "We're done improvising here," Noah said with authority, positioning himself between Zoe and the table. "Then do it your way," Zoe said, the mask cracking as she shoved the bottle back into her bag. Driving home, Madison still felt the tension of the scene when she noticed a dark car behind her for 2 blocks, headlights holding a calculated distance. The window lowered slowly, and a familiar face appeared. Shane, the same man she'd seen delivering boxes to Zoe. "You're going to accept the suspension and disappear," Shane murmured, blunt, keeping his car parallel to hers for a few seconds. "I'm not disappearing, and you don't control my life," Madison answered, steady, gripping the wheel with both hands. Shane cast a cold look, then accelerated and vanished around the bend. The silence inside Madison's car weighed like lead, but she was determined not to back down. That night, as Noah walked through the parking area, Shane appeared again. He leaned in with the calm of cowards, and his words slid out like poison. "Personal scandal takes executives down fast. Think about your name before you play the hero," Shane said slyly, staring straight ahead. "I'm not backing down. My father's life is what matters here," Noah replied, voice tense, trying to steady the tremor in his hands. The next morning, Zoe walked into the living room with measured steps. "Since you two love playing righteous, let's see if you can handle the truth," Zoe said with irony, opening her bag and pulling out a photo. "You're going to smear my name to the bitter end, aren't you?" Noah asked, exhausted, staring at her hand holding the paper. "Here's the man who hid his own daughter, a daughter he never acknowledged. He preferred protecting his name over protecting his father. And don't bother denying it, because this photo and the account have already been sent to the press," Zoe said with cold cruelty, raising the picture of Noah holding a baby so Madison could see. Noah went pale, and the air in the room thinned, as if it had been sucked away, while the photo screamed the whole story he'd tried to hide. "Enough theater. What matters here is Mr. Grant, and personal secrets don't change the obligation to care for him properly," Madison said firmly, facing Zoe and then looking at Noah, as if shutting a door on the blackmail. "Going to hide behind cheap morals now?" Zoe asked with disdain, chin lifted like someone celebrating a downfall. "I won't hide, and I won't obey out of fear anymore," Noah said rough-voiced, raising his eyes like a man finally choosing a side. "So, you're saying that picture won't take you down?" Zoe needled with irony, turning her wrist so the paper flashed in the light. "I'm saying I'm going to keep the rules I made with Madison, no matter who it hurts," Noah said, hard as stone. "You didn't understand a thing, sweetheart. If the secret's no use, the plan changes," Zoe whispered, ice cold. Zoe jerked her head, slicing the air, and the door flew open with a bang that made the wall vibrate. Shane came in first, followed by a henchman with broad shoulders and empty eyes. "Playtime's over. Move to the middle," Shane ordered in a low voice, shoving Noah in the chest with a sharp push that displaced the air. "Don't touch him," Madison shouted, enraged, stepping forward before a hand clamped down on her arm. "Keep quiet or it gets worse for you," the henchman said coldly, squeezing Madison's forearm until the muscle burned. "Both of you are gone today," Zoe announced, voice like ice, pointing toward the ceiling with a short gesture that flaunted her control. "The cameras are down, and every employee's been sent home. No one saw anything. No one's going to hear anything," Zoe said with relish. "You've lost it. That's a crime," Noah said in disbelief, trying to wrench his arm free, his eyes jumping from his father to Zoe. Crime is leaving the inheritance in the wrong hands. I'm just adjusting the future, Zoe answered with calm cruelty, stepping toward Grant as if testing a boundary. Don't go near Mr. Grant, Madison shouted, urgent, twisting her arm to break the henchman's grip. Tie them up and prep the car, Zoe ordered, impatient now, the smile gone. Let go of my arm, you're hurting me, Madison panted, but the henchman yanked her by the elbow and shoved her to the center of the room with a short, hard push. You're going to shut up now, Shane growled, anger barely contained, then landed a sharp blow to Noah's shoulder, knocking him off balance and to his knees. No one's going to miss you until morning, Zoe hissed in Noah's ear, poisonous, bending like a snake before the strike. Help! Somebody! Madison screamed, body taut, her voice tearing through the house's silence. Shut it, the henchman muttered, reaching into his pocket like he was looking for something to silence her. The door burst open again without warning, and Kevin strode in with the determined step of a man who heard the right scream at the right time. What's going on here? Kevin asked, shocked. Without waiting for an answer, he lunged for the henchman. Let her go now! Kevin shouted, furious, landing a quick strike to the henchman's wrist. The blow hit true, the henchman's hand loosened, and Madison broke free, shoving him away before scrambling to her feet. Back up, Zoe! Shane shouted urgently, sensing the tide turning. Zoe backed down the hallway, a desperate attempt to escape. Your show is over, Madison said, anger clean and bright, sprinting after her, grabbing a fistful of Zoe's hair and yanking her back with a sharp jerk. Let go of me, you lunatic! Zoe shrieked, hysterical, losing her balance and crashing to the floor with her legs tangled. Stay down and don't move, Madison said, voice like a razor, pinning Zoe with her weight and locking Zoe's wrists with a lever of her forearm. You'll pay for this, Zoe spat, seething, kicking at the air like she could bite the moment. Across the room, Shane roared and lunged at Kevin with a knife. Cold as steel, Kevin torqued Shane's wrist until the blade popped free and clattered to the floor. Shane twisted to bolt, but left his flank open. At that instant, Noah lunged, panting, and drove the henchman to the floor, pinning the man's arm behind his back with his body weight. It's over for you, Kevin said, voice hard, calling the authorities while he held the restraint. Minutes dragged by until firm voices filled the hallway, bringing air back into the house. Stay where you are. No sudden moves, one of the officers said with authority, taking control of the scene. The heavy silence broke only for the snap of handcuffs and the tread of officers collecting evidence. Soon after, everyone was taken in, and the house's tension gave way to the weight of the police station, where every word would be recorded. There, under the press of direct questions and the promise of a lighter sentence for cooperation, Shane began to crack. Zoe and I are connected, and she wanted Grant's death to look natural. She used off-hours visits and non-prescribed drinks, Shane confessed softly, staring at the floor. After the inheritance passed to Noah, the plan was to force him to transfer parts of the company under threat, he continued, swallowing hard like chewing glass. And when he wasn't useful anymore, take him out of the way. Shane finished with a breath of shame, shutting his eyes. The two guys today were hired just to make them disappear. They didn't even know the rest, Shane added, trying to divide up the blame. You just incriminated yourself and Zoe in multiple crimes, the officer said with clinical coldness, noting every word. He's lying to save his own skin, Zoe snapped with contempt, staking everything on a final bluff. I admit I caved to blackmail and signed the complaint against Madison. I was complicit by omission at the start, and I'll answer for what I did, Noah declared, voice choked, not trying to dress anything up. If all employees had been sent home, why were you here? The officer asked, suspicious, keeping his eyes on Kevin. Because something felt off, Kevin replied, steady. Zoe suddenly sent everyone home and even shut down the cameras. So I came back to speak with Mr. Noah and walked in on the scene. Kevin added, firm in his account. The rulings left no room to maneuver. Zoe and Shane were convicted and received long sentences. The henchman was convicted for his role as well. Noah received a proportional sentence for complicity and falsification, and the case left a permanent mark on his name. Madison, after a full review, had her license reinstated and officially took over Grant's care, now with transparency rules that ensured nothing could be twisted again. Time moved forward in steady quiet, marked by calendar pages turning and by each bit of improvement in Grant under Madison's care. The house, once loaded with tension, settled into a clean routine, controlled visits, and nights without shocks. At that measured pace, years stacked up until a gate finally opened to release Noah, thinner, slower, his face carrying what he'd learned behind bars. "I want to see my father," Noah said in a low voice, knowing there was no speech that could fix anything, only presence. "He's in the living room, exactly the way you need to see him," Madison said with calm, making space without making shortcuts. Noah walked into the very room where everything had fallen apart, and his knees buckled before the words came. "I'm so sorry. I did more wrong than I can say," Noah said, voice broken, gripping his father's hand like someone clutching a ledge. "I failed too. I spent my life looking at the company instead of at you," Grant said, his voice having come back slowly, pulling his son closer with a short, full gesture. "I don't deserve this hug, but I need it," Noah said, crying softly, letting his face fall against the shoulder that had always been missing. "You did a lot of wrong, but you're still my son," Grant said firmly, drawing Noah close with a short, decisive pull. The house, once marked by fear and lies, could breathe in peace again because at last they had chosen what was right. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, give it a like, and activate the notification bell so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. See you in the next story.